Daikon radishes. I've grown 2 varieties this fall. How do you even cook them? Let's go see. Well, I've been growing Daikon radishes this fall, and I've got 2 varieties right back there. And people have been asking me, well, what do you do with Daikon radishes? I mean, they're good for busting up clay soil, but how do you eat them? I've got 2 recipes tonight. I'm going to show you how to cook them. First, we've got to harvest. This is a good one right here, nice and big. Wow, look at that. There we go. That's a good Daikon. I've got a lot of others here. I'm going to let them kind of keep in the ground. That's all I need for tonight. Man, that's big, isn't it? All right, so we're gonna weigh our Daikon radish. We've got 44 ounces. I need about half of that. I need about 1.5 pounds of Daikon radish for our soup recipe, and about 1.5 pounds of pork. And this will be a real easy soup. The first recipe we're gonna make is a Daikon radish and pork soup. Very simple, very few ingredients. It's Daikon radish, garlic, and pork. And maybe a little ginger if you want to throw that in too. So we're going to use about half of this Daikon radish, and I'll show you how easy this is. We're also going to make a Daikon radish salad, also real easy, real quick to make, and I've tried it already. It's very delicious. On these Daikons, you see there's a green end and there's a white end. The Koreans say that the green end is sweeter and the whiter end, which is the root side, is less sweet. It's a little more radish-like. So we're going to take the green end for our salad and the white end for our stew, for our soup. First step, we're going to peel it. You can peel it pretty deeply if you want to, because the skins on these are about, well, they can be up to about 2 or 3 millimeters thick. For our first recipe, we're going to take half. And again, I'm going to keep the green half for our salad. This half, I'm just going to chop up into chunks, much like you would do it to a potato if you're doing mashed potatoes. There we go. Now we'll set these aside. Next thing we need to do is chop up our pork. I have here 1.5 pounds of pork. This is considered country style ribs. I don't know why. There's no bone in here. The original recipes generally call for pork with bones in them, but there's no bones in here. But I'm going to cube this up just the same as I did my radish, and we're going to boil this, and then we're going to dump off the water. That will take all the impurities out of this pork. You want a very clean broth when you're dealing with Asian style broths. Think pho, think ramen, true ramen, and you always skim your broth or clean your meat very well before you serve it. So we're going to take this and cut it into cubes. We're going to put it in some water to boil. And this will cook for, oh, let's give it 10 minutes once it gets back to a boil. We're just wanting to boil off some of the blood, some of the impurities that are in here. Okay, our pork is boiling, and fortunately there's not a lot of scum on this pork. So we're going to take it off the heat. We're going to drain that and replace the water. If you're using bones or pork that has not quite been prepared well with, it's not quite as of a butcher's cut, you're going to have a lot of blood in there, and you'll see a lot of scum on the surface here. You'll want to skim that off and dump the water. But we're going to dump the water anyway. We want a real clean broth, so let's do that now. All right, there's our clean pork. Now we add garlic. I'm going to get some garlic and some daikon. Our daikon goes right in there, and enough water to cover. About all we need. A little bit more. Now we don't need much garlic, so 1 big clove ought to do. Actually, there's a little one there too. Just smash your garlic, get the skin off, and that's all you got to do. Of course, when I'm on video, nothing works. This is totally optional, but I like ginger. So I'm going to take a little thumb of ginger and peel it up. And I'm going to put that in the pot as well. And that should give it a nice flavor. And that's going to go into the pot. We're going to let that boil for about 30 minutes or until our daikon radishes are tender. We can get a fork through them like a potato, and that will be it. That will be all for this dish. Alright, we're getting there. It's been about 20 minutes and our daikons are nice and soft. I want them a little bit more soft, so I'm going to let it go a little longer. And you can see it's a real simple, basic broth there. Not going to be a whole lot of flavor to it. It's going to be very mellow. But that's what the recipe calls for. Okay, there we have it. Nice and soft. Let's serve some. I'm going to put a little rice in my bowl. Asian food and rice. Can't have one without the other. Broth is nice and clear. That's what we're after. Okay. Garnish with a little cilantro. We're ready to eat. For our daikon salad, we're going to cut what are called matchsticks. So what you do is you just take your daikon and you slice it into these small slices like so. Oh, about 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch, something like that. And then what we'll do is we'll lay them down and chop them into matchsticks, like so. Now, next step, very important step. We're going to place all of our radish matchsticks now in a bowl, and we're going to salt it. About a tablespoon of salt. And what we're going to do is soften this and draw out the moisture. Much like the step you would do if you're making fermented cabbage dishes or sauerkraut. So let's take some salt. And sprinkle that in there. About a tablespoon. Go by eye. You don't need a whole lot. And then you want to knead that in. Make sure all of your radish is covered. And we're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes, maybe more. And what this salt will do is begin to draw out the moisture and cause these sticks of radish to no longer be as firm. They will be pliable. So we'll let that sit there for a while. Okay, back to our salad. You want to come in here and toss this again, and you can see that the salt is already drawing out a whole lot of liquid in there. We want a little more liquid drawn out. You can see they're nice and pliable now. And yeah, let's let that sit a little longer. Make sure it's all in contact with that salt. Got me some spring onions from the garden, and this is an essential part of this salad. So we're going to chop up one of these. I think I might need just one, but I got two. We'll see. These spring onions have been growing for me since spring of 2021. I planted these in the garden from Kitazawa seeds, and they are a great spring onion. They just keep going and going all through the summer. They kept growing. Yeah, they get a little ragged looking during the summer heat, but when the fall came around, boy, they started growing again. So that ought to be enough. The onions in the salad are by taste, so if you like a lot of onions, go for it. If you don't, cut back on the onions a little bit. I like green onions, so I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Let's go ahead and get some garlic. 2 cloves of minced garlic is all you need. Alright, it's been a while. How are they looking? Nice and pliable. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to drain these and rinse them off. A lot of salt on there. We don't want all that saltiness there. But you can see they're nice and soft, and they've become quite pliable. That's what we're after. The washing of the daikon is completely optional. If you want that saltiness on there, you can keep it. So some of that salt has actually penetrated this. I'm just going to rinse it off, get a quick once over with the water. There we go. I'm going to squeeze all the moisture out of there that I can, and back into the bowl. In with the onions, in with the garlic. Alright, our next step is to take some Korean pepper flakes. This is the kind of pepper flakes that are used in kimchi. This is the brand recommended by Mang Chi on her channel, and these are very hot flakes. I used these in some kimchi and a little bit overdid it. The recipe calls for 2 teaspoons. I'm going to do 1.5, just because I'm a little bit wimpy like that. Yeah, maybe 1 3/4. So that's the pepper flakes. Whew, I can already smell them. Nice and hot. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of rice wine vinegar. Rice vinegar, you can use regular vinegar if that's all you've got. 2 teaspoons of that, maybe a little more. Now we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of sugar. Any old kind of sugar you want. I'm just going to use plain old white sugar. 2 teaspoons. Alright, since my teaspoon measure is wet, I'm going to eyeball it. About right there. A little bit more if you want it sweeter. Now we're going to take it and mix it up. Mix it really good. You want everything coated. That is the key. Everything coated. You can see that the daikon's still giving off a little bit of juice because it's been treated with that salt. And that gives you a little bit of a nice little dressing down in the bottom. And once this is nicely mixed, there's one final step. Some people prefer to do that final step at serving because, well, that final step is some roasted sesame seeds. You want to put some roasted sesame seeds on here, but it doesn't store as well with roasted sesame seeds in it. So if you just put those on at serving, you can keep the rest of this in the refrigerator for about a week, and it won't go bad. Something about those sesame seeds, though, causes this recipe to go bad in the fridge. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this nice and fresh here by not putting the sesame seeds on it until I serve it. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Here we go with our salad. Get myself a little portion here. Now the rest of this I can keep for tomorrow or the next day or whenever. Give yourself a little juice if you want some, but that's good for me. Here we have roasted sesame seeds. I'll sprinkle some of those on top. And there we go. Korean Daikon salad, a delicious side dish, real refreshing, sweet and spicy. Good way to use those Daikon radishes. Okay, so we have made 2 Daikon radish recipes. We've made a nice fresh Daikon radish salad, and we have made a Daikon pork soup. And I've added a little bit of ginger to this over the normal recipe. So now we're going to try it, see how things taste. I forgot my fork. Okay, first we're going to try the salad. I'm going to stir it up a little bit, get some of that juice off the bottom, kind of recoat these little strips here. There we go, let's try it. Savory, fresh, a little bit of that pepper spice in there. Taste that garlic. Daikons. This particular daikon is a little more sharp than the one I had the other day, but it's very good. It's mellow compared to your standard breakfast radish or any of the little radishes we typically grow in our gardens. These daikons are actually very mellow compared to those. This is a superfood. Eating these daikons raw like this preserves all the qualities that make this a superfood. They're very, very good for you. Lots of health benefits if you want to look them up online and study these Daikon radishes. Man, they're so good for you. And this is a great way to eat them. All right, let's taste the broth in our pork and daikon soup. Let's taste the broth first. You don't really expect much, considering it's only daikon radishes, pork, a little bit of garlic, and some ginger. But you get a lot out of it. Very mellow broth. Certainly has some pork flavor, but that daikon, it's almost sweet. Yeah, ooh, that's good. I did not expect it to be that good. That broth is actually really delicious. All right, let's try the radish itself. It should be soft like a potato. Wow, that's good. I did not expect it to be that good. It actually is very savory and doesn't really have that cabbagey, radishy taste. It's got a little bit of cabbage taste, but it's not sharp. It's not hot. There's no hotness here at all. Very savory. Wow, this is actually really good. It's almost like a potato. Wow, that's good. That's a good way to eat these radishes. I am impressed. I'm surprised. I didn't expect this recipe to turn out to be that great, but it's a nice mellow, almost like a comfort food. You could eat this if you have a cold, if you're sick or something, and it'll comfort you. With that rice in there, you get some starch. The pork gives you some protein, and the radishes, wow, that's the star of the show. That's good. Now, I don't expect much from boiled pork. The pork, well, it's mainly in there, I think, to provide a broth, but we're going to try it. Let's see if the boiled pork with those daikons has any benefit over eating pork any other way. It's just pork, but it's good. Pork you can't go wrong with pork. It's not dry because it's been boiled in this broth, but it's very delicious. Wow, this is a winner. I like this soup. So, there we have it. A couple of ways that you can use a daikon radish. The salad, you get the fullness of the daikon and all the nutrition. The soup, it's a comfort soup. It really tastes good. I'm very surprised. I'm actually quite shocked. This is a good dinner. Hey, if you like my cooking videos, I have a playlist called Ali Sheba Kitchen, and that'll show you how we use the things in our garden. You can go watch that. I'll link it right up here. But yeah, this is a really good way to use the daikon radishes we've been growing in the garden, and I hope you've enjoyed the recipes. If you don't, hey, that's too bad. Gardening channel, we garden and we eat what we grow, so, you know, sometimes I'm going to cook. If you do like them, I'm really grateful. Like our channel, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. I'm really impressed. I'm quite surprised. These daikon radishes boiled like that. Oh, man.